now we're gonna get this thing wired and working. So to start, we're gonna time it all in the expression. So the link to this code is in the description of this video, so you can grab that so you'll be on the same page with me when we're doing this all. So first we're going to designate our pistons, and for this, since 2 pistons fire on each side at the same time, we're only having 4 outputs, so we need T1 through T4, just like that, at your outputs directive. So to start, we're going to go if bearing is greater than -180 and bearing is less than 0, T1 equals A, else T1 equals B. And all this does is, since bearing is a value between -180 and +180 throughout the rotation of the crankshaft, we're designating half of that for T1 to fire, since it fires for half of the rotation and then comes back up. So that's what this does. Now, since we wired this engine in such a way that T1, which is these 2 pistons, are 180 degrees out of phase with these middle pistons, we, instead of having to write another line like this, we can just write T2 equals -T1, and that will time that for us. So that makes it all nice and easy. Now for the other side, since the other side is 90 degrees out of phase, we just have to go 90 degrees over from this. So it would look something like, if bearing is greater than -90, oops, let me not capitalize the E in that, and bearing is less than +90, let me not capitalize the E that I said to myself. T3 equals A, else T3 equals B. And again, with T1 and T2, the relationship is the same, so T4 equals -T3. And that is literally all we're going to need to do. So, after you have that done, you want to get out your GPS under wire detection, and you just want to place your GPS, let's see, I'm going to change my Smart Snap settings temporarily so I can get a nice little space there. And I'm going to change the model size to mini, so it's not as massive. Just place it above the flywheel, so that it is, above the exact center of the flywheel. And just wire up GPS vector to the first vector output on that. Okay, so to wire this up, we're just going to wire A of our first piston there to T1, and wire the other piston that's on the same point as that to T1 as well. And since the opposite of T1 was T2, just wire those up. And then on the other side, I'm just going to wire those to T3 and those to T4. Okay, so now we need an on and a throttle. Now you could do this with an advanced pod controller, but for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to use numpads. And this is fully pod controller friendly. It doesn't take, for throttle, it doesn't take a value between 0 and 100 anymore. It's just a 0, 1 kind of thing, so it works really well with pods, if you want to do that. Which you should, by the way. So for our on-off, I always use 5. If you've ever used my engines, you know that. So 5, toggle between 0 and 1. So we're just going to place that. And then for throttle, I always use 8, which is a non-toggled 0 and 1. So now we're just going to wire that up. On goes to our 5, and throttle goes to our 8. Okay, so we're just going to duplicate that and make sure that it works. Now there is, oh dear, what did I do? Good job, MrWhite, grabbing the crankshaft. So there is a chance, an off chance, that the T3 and the T4 are not timed correctly. They could be timed opposite what they should be, in which case we just have to go back to the original and wire them differently. But let's hope that it works. So we're just going to press 5. Oh dear, why did I turn thruster effects on? That wasn't smart of me. But it looks like they're firing correctly, so that's always good. So maybe it was a smart idea that I had thruster effects on so you can actually see that, and I'll just show you. So you can sort of see that they are firing correctly. And we'll just run it up a bit, and yeah, it works, looks to work just fine. So if your engine is doing this, you have successfully built a V8 engine. If your engine is not doing this, you must not have done something correctly, or something. I don't know. So we're just going to undo that, turn this engine off, and turn those off. Okay, so now we're going to want, if you do happen to want an engine sound, which a lot of people do, and it seems that nobody knows how to do it properly, we're going to do that here. So we're just going to do if first, which just means the first time that the expression runs through the code, it's going to execute whatever we put in these brackets. We want sound play, which is just, it's just a sound function of expression 2. 0, which is our index. 0, which is something that I don't know. We're just going to put those down first, our parentheses. And in the parentheses, we are going to type v8 dot medium, I believe, is the code. And that is actually an ACF sound, but you don't have to use an ACF sound if you don't have ACF, because you will not have ACF sounds. And if you don't, all you have to do is up here click Sound Browser, and then go through here and find a nice sound that you like, or that you don't like, if you want to be that way. Just find that and then put it in these quotations. Why did I say parentheses earlier? They're quotations. They're not parentheses. I'm smart, I swear. So yeah, just put them in those quotations. And to make sure it works, we're just going to upload it. And no, it doesn't work because I forgot my curly bracket. So we're just going to refresh that. And as you can hear, it sounds slightly V8-ish. So we don't want our engine just to make that sound all the time, because it gets kind of droning and boring and unrealistic. So we're going to change the pitch, which is sound pitch. 0, which is our index. And then we're going to designate RPM divided by 7 for the pitch. I don't know why divided by 7, I've just found that that works, so we're going to go with that. So now if we duplicate this, and actually, before we duplicate that, we're going to put another line in here. Instead of just if first, we want an if first or do finished, and that will basically, this means that it will either run once you update the expression like that, or once you duplicate the expression and it gets done copying. Most of the time that works just fine, so do that. So now if we turn this on, and it begins rotating, you should be able to hear the sound, which is nice and in line with the RPM. It sounds nice and V80 and throaty and all the things that we want out of an engine sound. So, that is how you build a V8 engine as far as I'm concerned in Gary's mod. If you want to do it differently, feel free to, but don't tell me about it, because I frankly don't care. So if you've made it this far through the tutorial, congratulations, you no longer need me.